Hey everyone, it is me, Tanya, founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. In this particular video, we're going to be talking about 3 branding changes that make you more memorable. Now, I want to address this simply because there are a lot of experts out there who I know are doing amazing and brilliant things, but they're not positioning themselves as that go-to person or the authority within their specific industry. And the impact that that then has, well, it impacts the way that you are showing up, or maybe even not showing up. Meaning that all your competitors will start showing up above you, will start creating even more noise over you, even when you know that you can do a better job from them. So when experts shy away from the experts that they are, by not showing up, by not creating clarity, by not presenting themselves in a way that allows others to see who and what it is that they are and why it is that they are credible in doing so, that's when the competition starts winning over them. So if you've ever fallen into that trap, make sure you stick around to the end of this video, because I showcase to you key things that I want to make sure that you're creating in order to make sure that you are more memorable, so that you can be that go-to expert that others need to literally tap into. So with that in mind, make sure you stick around to the very end, because I also show you a way how you can keep the momentum going, especially by way of key principles that will allow you to understand that not only are you more than what you see, but also why representation, your representation specifically, matters. And yes, I'm talking about you specifically. Everybody represents something that is super key and needs to be seen more of, by way of race, by way of age, by way of demographic, whatever that may be, even status as well. Everybody represents something that people need to see more of, because know that yes, you are an example of a way forwards. So when you understand that magnitude yourself, you show up differently. You present yourself in a way that allows yourself to be taken seriously, but more specifically that allows others to understand why you are, yes, the go-to expert, and why they now have decided you are one of the authorities in your space. So with that in mind, stick around to the very end, because I want to make sure that you tap into those key things. Also, make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe to this channel, because I share content just like this. And folks, without further ado, let's just get stuck into it. So as I shared with you, we're going to be talking about 3 branding changes that make you even more memorable. So before we get into that, I want to make sure that you know this first and foremost, okay, before we move forward to the things that you need to be creating. You need to know that the goal here is to make you known as that distinctive brand, or the brand that it is different from all others within your industry. And to do that, you've got to create space for these 3 things, okay? So let's talk about the first thing that you've got to create, okay? And that's the idea of clarity. I've been talking about clarity till I'm blue in the face lately, and I want to make sure that I bring it to the table here on this video as well. When we're talking about clarity, I'm talking about how clear are you being when it comes to your message that you're delivering to your audience, when it comes to the way that you are showing up, or the point that you are trying to make on your video, on your own video, or on your own bit of content, social media platform, online platform, or even offline platform, whatever that platform may be. How clear are you showcasing or sharing that information? And more importantly, how clear are you being with communicating what it is that you do and why it is that you do it? Because 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of experts out here who will, yes, say the basics of the basics, but they won't go into why they're doing it, or how they've even come about understanding who they're helping. That little bridge right there is the difference between you talking to everybody versus you talking specifically to your audience. Now, that's what you want to do, by the way, as a little fun fact. You want to make sure that you are talking specifically to your audience, because that's who needs your services. That's who will relate to who you are, why it is that you're doing what you're doing, but more specifically, how it is that you can help them. Help them to understand the journey that not only have you been on, but you've helped your clients through, so that they get to know how they can move forwards with you. Typically, experts don't do that. They miss out that bridge. And when you miss out that bridge, you miss out on opportunities. So address those key things, address clarity. And with that in mind, right now, at the time of me recording this video, I'm actually putting together a brand authority scorecard. Now, this particular scorecard is a quiz which will essentially allows all those experts to tap into where their brand authority lies on the scale. On the scale of whether or not they're being super clear, on the scale of whether or not they're representing themselves in a manner that actually allows others to understand who they are. But also it allows them to understand, okay, what are the holes that are potentially missing? And with those holes in mind, they get to understand how to fix them. Because I don't know if you've ever been in the position where you've literally found a hole, but you don't even know where to start with fixing it. Well, this particular brand authority scorecard helps you to understand what you can do to level up and to keep moving forwards. Now, I say all that to say because there's a question on there that I ask. And that specific question addresses the idea of clarity. And I ask, how clearly do you explain what it is that you do, but also how it is that you help people? Me, for example, I can tell people that I work in branding and I'm a branding specialist, but 9 times out of 10, they still don't understand what branding is. So I've got to use a different bit of language there. I help them to understand that I help people to show up, but show up in a way that allows them to be seen as not only that go-to expert, but as that distinctive service-based business that makes people pay attention. So how are you explaining what it is that you do? Now, second thing that you want to make sure that you're creating. And I've kind of leaned into this a little bit. I've talked in a little bit about it, but essentially this particular thing that you need to create is the thing that separates you from every other expert within your industry. And that's the idea of creating distinction. You have to create distinction in order to be able to literally separate yourself from all others in your industry. If you're the type of person who is happy being a wallflower, who is happy to see others shine, which is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we are out here for everybody. Everybody deserves a seat at the table. We know this. But you also are allowed to show up and shine yourself. You also are allowed to make sure what it is that you do is known as the key unique thing that you do. Now, remember, I've always spoken about the idea of your unique human point. What is that factor, right? This is where that kind of comes into play. Why are you so distinctive? Why are you so different? What makes you different from the next expert within your industry? Tap into it and really use it. And if you're the type of person who gets stuck on this kind of thing, or ask a friend, ask a peer whose opinion you actually value, because they're going to tell you the truth. And these are what I call your core community. Tap into your core community. Because again, they'll tell you the truth and also they'll help you to understand the type of words that you're missing out yourself. So ask them, what is it that makes you different? And then finally, this last thing that you need to create. And again, this is another thing that I've really been making sure that others know, because it is super key. It is super important, especially if you want to make sure that your audience moves from one state to the next. You have to build on a connection so much that it creates trust. When you create trust, once again, with that connection in mind, because that's what you're making and that's what you're building when it comes to speaking to your audience, you have to create a level of connection that helps them to understand and helps them to see themselves or even picture themselves working with you, talking with you, engaging with you. Remember, I talked about in my previous video or the idea about the 3, 7, and 27 rule, okay? This is where the 27 element, or the amount of interactions that you need to have in order for that trust to be built. You need to make sure that you're addressing things like the problems, the levels of credibility that you have based on all of your experiences. You need to be sharing that so trust can be built. And more so, trust can be sustained. Because if you're not, once again, you're going to cause a level of disconnect that people will just keep moving on to that next person within your industry. Help them to stay with you. Help them to understand why you. Help them to understand more specifically why you are that right fit. So, folks, I'm going to leave it there. I really hope that this video resonated with you. Please make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel, and more specifically, share it with other like-minded entrepreneurs or service-based business owners as well. Because I want to make sure as many people as possible know that they are more than what they see. And in order to do that, especially when we talk about keeping this momentum or keeping this level of action alive, you need to do things like tapping into the first link that's below this video. When you do that, you're going to be, yes, asked for a few details, but also I'm going to fire over to you key branding principles that will allow you to address the key clarity elements or distinctive elements that you need to be putting in place so that others get why you're the right fit for them, and also why they should trust you. So use these key principles as your advantage. So with all that being said, make sure you go ahead and tap into that specific resource, get familiar with all those branding principles, and I will see you on the other side.